Welcome to another episode of Pillow Talk with Winter Sirens. Today we're going to be talking about electronic music versus real instrumentation and what each member thinks which is better or just their thoughts on it. So it could get pretty heated.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Let's get into it. What stemmed this conversation is, well, it'll be interesting to hear Keith's answer. I'm actually really excited. There's just a really big dispute I've seen in like magazines about like electronic music kind of taking over the music industry, and a lot of people either really like it and think that it's an art and it's a form of music. Some people think it's a cop-out. It's like a shortcut way, and it's not real music.
I do have an opinion on this. So I honestly think it kind of, for me, it depends, because I do feel like there's a lot of times I see people that create electronic music really don't have. I don't know if they have like that really understanding or feel what music is sometimes. And I know this is kind of a blunt way to say it, but I see people all the time that don't maybe as a musician have that same love and connection to music, and so when and it's so simple to create those things, and they'll show you how simple it is when they make it. We have all those things that are programmed, and they can just put together, and they can have things fix the pitch for them, and it kind of takes away a lot for me the part of person's individual feel of music and learning how to, whether it's singing on pitch or playing in rhythm and stuff like that. And I do think a lot of those tools are very useful in a recording setting for instruments, and they can really help tighten up things in a studio setting. But sometimes I do feel like with electronic music, we're using those tools for evil. But some electronic music I do feel does have some complexity, and is made by people that are musicians, and they've decided to make some cool things that really you can only make those sounds with electronic stuff. So that's why I kind of have my bias. But for them, I do feel like I wish that most people that made electronic music were also musicians first before they were artists who just make electronic music.
So if you had to choose between the two, you would choose real instrumentation.
Yeah.
You're gonna hear mine last, because I feel like mine is a little bit more complex.
He's already talking, just saying.
What?
Mitchell doesn't want to get made fun of. That's what's going on here.
I get made fun of all the time. All the freaking time.
What I say isn't that valuable, so we put it in the middle. Or actually, Mitchell puts it in the middle.
I'm actually right in the middle, so I'm with Bryson on that, if that's even a thing.
Just kidding.
Fine!
There you go.
Fine!
What I think is, I think personally I've always been, like, I started out playing classical music with, like, on an upright bass and stuff. And so I first thought, like, oh, real music is like a symphony, like an orchestra, like real, like wooden instruments, like plugging a guitar into the wall. What? To make fake sounds? Guitar on its own doesn't make anything. Doesn't make any sound like a guitar. Thought that. But then here's the thing.
And there he was.
I started. There I was. Dark night. In the Walmart parking lot. Just kidding. No, like I thought that, and I don't know. In the classical world, people are very critical of each other and other musicians, and it's really, you got to be the best. And so it's like it got to be like real music, like completely like my instrument makes the sound. But I didn't listen to classical music. I listened to rock. So I was like, oh, and I enjoy playing rock more. So I changed my mind. So I think my opinion on this is, I think musicians are artists, and you can make whatever music you want to make. However you want to make it. If it's enjoyable, if people want to listen to it, people don't want to listen to it. But like if if you enjoy music and it was made by a computer, I might think, oh, they might not be as talented, but I couldn't do that. I don't know how to do it. So they are more talented than me in that way. So I think it's really like, whatever music you want to make it however you want to make it. And be your own artist. And we probably won't have a lot of that in our music. That's my opinion.
Cool. Keith, what are your thoughts? It's like the one I've been waiting for.
So this is an issue I'm very hot about, very hot. Because I think, I guess just to sum it all up just real quick and then elaborate, I do think that electronic music is a cop-out. I think that people who make electronic music are not musicians. I think that it doesn't take any talent. I look at musicians like Bryson, who played in orchestras. You know, people like Alec mentioned he's played, in our previous video mentioned he's played guitar for 10 years. I've been playing the drums for 17 years. Mitchell's been playing the guitar for probably in between those two, right? That's years, over at least a decade for each one of us, where we've been pouring our blood, sweat, and tears into our craft. And for someone to sit down behind a computer and just push a couple buttons and do that, it's a cop-out. It's the easy way out. I mean, really, I think about it a lot. Like, I think that, you know, that computers have given people that have no business in the music industry the ability to be famous and the ability to be in the spotlight. You know, I've heard people say, you know, you don't even have to really practice anymore. You just go in the studio and Pro Tools will fix it for you. And Alec mentioned when he was talking that Pro Tools, that these things are tools, and I agree with that. I think that they are tools to be using when necessary. You know, like when you're cooking, you aren't just going to douse your food in pepper and salt. You're going to add it in sparingly. That's the term, pepper it in. Doing things like that to add certain effects, I'm okay with. But when a song becomes just synthetic, totally just fake, that's where I draw the line. Even my Third Eye Blind, my favorite band, they have a song like that, and I do not like it, and I feel the same way about that song while still feeling the way that I feel about that band. I just feel almost insulted as a musician because of the way the music industry is going towards towards the electronic side of it. And I get it. I mean, it's popular right now. People don't really care about what's really music. They care about a beat. They want to feel the beat. They want to feel the beat. They don't care about. You could be singing in the song about murdering women and children, but as long as it has a good beat, that's all society really cares about anymore. And I think that's why the industry is moving that way, because if it makes money, it makes sense. And so I can't really argue with that facet of it. It's also making it harder for actual musicians like us that have poured years and years and years of their lives into their craft to get work. Because again, if you're a businessman, why are you going to pay 4 times the price for a night when you can pay one person half the price or whatever it is to push a button and essentially do the same thing? Again, if it makes money, it makes sense. And that's another reason that I have a big problem with it. I just think about when Foo Fighters won, they won like 8 Grammys for their album Wasting Light, and when they were giving their Grammy speech and Dave Grohl was talking, and he said music isn't about what happens in the computer. Music is about what happens in here and in here. And I agree with that. Music is about getting your guitar, getting your microphone, your drums, whatever it is, and practicing and learning your craft. It's about getting together and sucking, and for months and years, and nobody wanting to listen to you because you suck so bad, and your mom telling you to stop playing and go to bed, and things like that. And not today, I have a headache. I got that a lot actually when I was first playing. Not today, I have a headache. And until one day you are the next Foo Fighters, you are the next Nirvana, you are the next Third Eye Blind, or whatever it is. Electronic music robs you of that. It's essentially your mom and dad giving you a car. That's what it is. And rather than taking the time and, again, like the four of us have, pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into what you're doing. I know that with what we do, we have some synthetic sounds in some of our songs, but I think all of us are kind of on the same page of one day actually being able to have that orchestra behind us, have those horns behind us, and not have to use a computer to do that. But again, going back to the original point, it's a tool. And just like how, as a mechanic, sometimes I would use a wrench, sometimes I would use an impact gun. There's a right tool for the job, and you're supposed to use that tool properly and not overuse it. I guess that's it for me.
I think over the years and stuff, it's been a little bit back and forth. I think my opinion does lean more towards what Bryson was saying. And as I've just continued to learn about what other musicians create, and also just what other people like to listen to. Back in college, when I was taking it was a consumer behavior class, I wrote a paper on the psychological behavior on music consumption. Byron was one of the people that I interviewed in that, which is really fun. But one of the other people I talked to explained why they loved listening to EDM. And EDM's kind of the genre that's really, really hard for me to listen to, because music should be a journey. It shouldn't always just be predictable. It just seems like all EDM sounds the same, to me at least. I've listened to tons of EDM, and I always found that, like, it's the drop that, in this interview, the drop is what people look for. And I found that so interesting, and I wanted to dig deep into, like, why people love the drop so much. It gave me a little bit more respect into other EDM artists I started going into, because it's not just plugging in sounds. I think the artists that do ruin it for, like, us musicians are the ones that want to take the shortcut, that don't want to, like, spend the time. They just, like, want to put sounds together and get famous. And again, I think it's intentions that really, really affect that. I've listened to a bunch of different, like, EDM, and most of them it's just, like, predictable, and it doesn't, like, connect with me as it does some other people. But you have, like, artists like Odessa, who they've actually they've done something a little bit different with EDM. They've actually taken kind of a reverse approach like us, where it is electronic and it is heavily, like, insane. It almost seems like they code their sounds, which is unreal. But they add actual orchestration in their music like I've never heard before. And there's one of the bands that I actually listen to that I'm just, like, so impressed by, because I'm just like, wow! This is not like any other EDM artist out there, because they're doing something that's so different, so innovative, that connects with me. And so it's a little bit hard. I'm a little bit, like, 50-50, but in consensus, like, what we're doing is Winter Sirens. Obviously, we're more, like, real instrument centric, and I think as times go on, like, we are adding in elements of electronic into our music, but we're only adding it in if it works. We're not just trying to, like, one of the biggest traps I think I've fallen into in the past that I've just finally learned to get over was the aspect of authenticity. The trap that people run into is they start creating music that they think people will like. So they start, like, adding, like, this hip hop beat and trying to make it like rock, and they're like, people will like this, but people won't like it if it's not truly you. And if you're doing electronic music for fun, then just do it for fun. If you want to just, like, make it, but if you're not going to make it for a career, I wouldn't recommend just doing electronic music, because in a sense, I can see like Keith's point. Like, there's a lot of hardworking musicians that are doing it, and I hope that, like, you know, I don't know. It's hard. If the sad thing is, like, if that's what the people want, then that's a hard thing to compete against. But regardless of like what people want, I think the goal is, if you're going to create something, make it authentic. And I know like there's so many ideas that I do, like, have a ton of samples, a ton of sounds, and I'm always trying to find ways to take that electronic element and make it work for the band, not just to put it in there because like, hey, people like this now, but if it actually adds to like the brand and the sound that we're trying to create. So in a sense, I think my goal is real instrumentation that I lean to, because I think that's where you can really see the hard work and the passion of each musician putting in their craft.
I know I myself, and probably all of us at one point or another, have been guilty of, like, if a musician that we look up to has like talked against something that we liked, we like felt bad and like shunned that thing immediately. I know I have before. These are our opinions. We are by no means fully formed musicians. We are by no means authority figures in the music industry by any stretch of the imagination. These are just our opinions. So you can take it for what it's worth. If you like what we've said, that's awesome, and we really appreciate it. If you don't agree with it, that's awesome too. That's the differences that make the music industry, the world, great. We can't all sound the same.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, comment below. Like, if you disagree with it, we want to read those. Like, we want to see other perspectives. Maybe you make electronic music and you're passionate about it. And if you are passionate about it and you're authentic, then it's going to resonate with someone. I guess another example I think of is Logic's album, Everybody. That album I have like played on repeat so many times. And it has like touched me, saved my life actually. And I can tell because that artist put in the time and energy, and he had the vision, the concept. Like, you can tell when electronic music is well made, when it is, you can tell it's their passion. And when it is, like, it's authentic and that's who they are, then that's the kind of music that we need. But that does seem, I think, a little bit of me does feel like there are a lot of people I talk to that just do it to become famous.
Yeah.
And you can find that even with like bands as well, that they're just like, you know, they get a keyboard and guitars and they play like this cool like college rock sound, and they're like, yeah, this is what people want and we want to make it big. And I'm not okay with that either, because it's not it's not authentic, and it's just more noise that like people have to like decipher between. So in a sense, I think all music is like needed and necessary when created by the right people. But we as imperfect people, we create these imperfections. All right, guys, it seems like this topic was really, really well discussed. Again, subscribe, like wintersirens.com if you want to stream our music. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, where you can continue to submit questions there, or comment below. Subscribe, all the things. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching another episode of Pillow Talk. We'll see you next time.